ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Culture to Christ podcast. We are your hosts, Alex and Aaron. Thank you guys for joining us today. We got a great episode on Hell-o-ween for you guys. Before you guys start, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like it if you enjoy it. Also, check us out on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review of any questions you guys have. We're going to do a Q&A episode coming soon, so leave your questions on Apple Podcast. Today we're in that month of Halloween, big tradition around the world. It's been an experience for you and I, and obviously in midst of our faith, we know that the Halloween practice goes against Christianity, goes against kind of our belief systems, what we want to instill, and we're going to get into exactly why that is, starting from, I say, secular worldview, which basically means how people see the world. People who don't really practice a faith or agnostic, maybe they have like a belief in God, who knows, but we're going to start there. So what is your first take when I say Halloween?
Well, before we even get into that, I think God put a stop to Halloween this year because with COVID, now you can't even go trick-or-treating, right? Door to door.
Amen.
So,
should we thank Trudeau then? Is Trudeau actually a pretty good guy or what?
That's what he said. He's like, well, my kids, they're not going to be able to go out this year because it's a hot zone.
So I think that's good too. We look at the different blessings, I guess, from COVID. Like, it takes away. I mean, it's very easy to see, oh yeah, Halloween it's just chocolate and candies, but we know growing up it becomes a lot more than that. But yeah, like COVID blessings is definitely that. I was thinking about that too, because you and I talk a lot about the negative side of COVID. But
even in Catholic schools, like when we were younger, we dressed up for Halloween there. We even you got candies from different rooms.
Yeah.
And you having a mom who's a principal, right? Like your mom is a principal. And didn't you tell me that last year you saw like your guys' school celebrate Halloween as well?
Oh yeah, there's Halloween. It's
a contradiction, right?
Yeah, in Catholicism. So Catholicism is not Christianity. They're not the same thing. It's a sector.
But shouldn't it still be against Halloween in the Catholic school system or no?
The Catholic school system changes what they call it. So they call it All Saints Day. So it's basically like a celebration of saints on that day. What I learned in doing research about, even where Halloween started, it started in Ireland, and then they slowly kind of integrated it into like the Catholic Church. They try to call it All Saints Day, so they celebrate on October 31st, and then they kind of blended it in with Halloween. So now that Irish, whatever, I don't know what it was called, but the Irish celebration of Halloween came to North America, and then it basically intersected with Catholicism, and I think that's why it's kind of we always talk about hypocrisy and like it doesn't make any sense because we know Halloween is Satan's day, is like a worship of Satan, is a worship of devil. There's people that practice witchcraft. Wicca.
That was the origins, right? Wasn't that the origins of Halloween?
Yeah, it was the worship of the dead. It was and in terms of our faith, in terms of what the Bible says, it's obviously a practice. It's a practice of idolatry. It's worshiping the dead, and Jesus says the dead's dead. Leave it alone. It's focused on the ones that are living. So we know that in Catholicism, for me, I'll be honest, like Catholicism is not Christianity. It's two different things. And we know that there's a lot of like contradictions with that. And I think that's why growing up, without a faith, not practicing faith, we went to Catholic church. We went to a Catholic.
Even we talked like not on this podcast, but before. Remember when I asked you? I said, "How come there's always public school system, Catholic school system, but there's never a Christian school system?"
I think,
and it's 2020. You would think that it would be more.
I think there are, for the general public, like for us, it's just Catholic school and public school. I think it's because in Catholicism, Anglican, like these different sectors that came off of Christianity, they were basically influenced by culture. So Italy and Rome is where the Catholic church started from. It was basically Christianity, and people took culture and mixed it and changed it to something else. So I think Christian schools, like they're private schools. So I think you could go to.
But that's if it's only private, that comes down to money.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be like that because that's gonna there should be the same. obviously there's going to be more Catholic schools than Christian schools because like there's already so many that are going. But I think that someone needs to implement a Christian school system as well to give people the option.
Exactly.
Because look, we never had that
No.
growing up, and it's like, well, we haven't been in elementary school for 15, 20 years. So like, why can't during that time period someone should have came up with it.
And it goes to show too, like what the spirits and like the things that we start to believe in as kids, like, growing up in Halloween, like, yeah, I did Halloween forever, dressed up as, I said, Batman. Me, I was a superhero guy. Like, my God was superheroes. So Batman, like, I'm dressing up as Batman as a kid. I watched all the movies, so I'm gonna be Batman. I'm gonna take on, and as in life, we take on spirits, we take on identity. And so when I go up and okay, Halloween, high school, and then high school, now Halloween becomes something different. Now it's something where it's like, whoa, what are these girls going to be wearing? Now it's like, is it really now about the costumes, or now it's about a certain different kind of spirit? We're getting into that lust, right? So when high school came around, Halloween's like, you got to wear something. For God, it's like, if you're not jacked, you're going to wear something scary. You know what I mean? You put on some kind of mask, some kind of superhero, right? Like,
but I always put on the mask because it's easy. It's simple. I didn't like having to dress up. It was too much work, so I was just there for the candy.
So like, when did you go around street to street as a kid, doing Halloween, doing candy?
That was like the reason of like, that was the main point of Halloween to me. It wasn't about.
Did you enjoy it? Do you think you enjoyed it?
Yeah, of course, because you get all the candy, right? Like that's why I think that a lot of kids today, they probably don't even really care about like what they're. Obviously, some kids do, but I'd say the majority of the kids do it for the candy, because that's like what they want.
And
right?
I was a fat kid growing up, so I loved chocolate, bro. I would stay in my room for hours just consuming chocolate. And yeah, I would be honest, I loved Halloween as a kid. And then in high school, I didn't mind it either because going to parties and stuff, and the girls, they're not dressing up for to be a princess anymore. Like, I think a lot of times it throws, it goes to show why I think people have a bad taste for religion and all that stuff and faith, because you look at the Catholic Church, but you're practicing all these different things, that makes it kind of confusing to like want to believe in anything really. Like, you're dressing up in Halloween costumes, going around a Catholic church, which is, Halloween is it's a demonic thing. It's evil. It's based on, Satan practices, whatever. There's people literally who have churches who worship the devil. That's just a reality. And these people are they're like, we pray for good things. They pray for darkness. They pray for manipulation, for control. And we're like Christians or, Catholics, whatever, and we're here dressed up around, you know what I mean, doing all these different things. So it's
that's why it was weird for me, because when I was younger, my mom would always tell me, because then when I was in Awana, which is a Bible school. So when I was there at a young age, they would always tell me like, Halloween's a bad day, like you can't celebrate it. And my mom would even tell me and my sister, my brother, that like, it's not a day that we celebrate. But then once I started going into the Catholic school, and every Halloween, you would have to dress up, because if you wanted candy, you'd have to like partake in it, right? And you didn't want to. I guess you didn't want to be that person who doesn't have a costume, who like So it's pressures, right, from a young age of like, you have to celebrate if you want to be a part of it. And then when I grew up older, like I didn't go to a lot of Halloween parties because I didn't want to have to dress up and like. I didn't want to
high
be
school.
Like
even in high school, you didn't dress up.
Yeah, high school, university, like there. Every Halloween party, I didn't want to, have to go all out with the costumes. I didn't want to be that guy that's just going with the mask. You can't do that. You have to actually, like when you see all the Instagram pictures of people when they celebrate, like they have the paint on their face, like they have crazy costumes. And if you're not that, like, why are you there if you're not going all out?
Well, that's why it becomes about the partying and the drinking. So people go, dude, just grab a mask, bro. We're going to get shit face anyways. That's the truth. For me, I think first year, me and my roommates, we were Power Rangers, so we just got morph suits. So like people people saw me as the Black Ranger. They're like, yo, Black Ranger, fam. That's what they literally said to me. Yo, Black Ranger, dog, was good, dog. And they got mad I was a white guy after, right? Right? But everyone thought the Black Ranger, right?
They're disappointed.
Oh, yeah, they were cheese.
They saw it, they're like, oh, fuck, it's a white guy.
Yeah, they're like,
that guy's whack.
They're like, yo, like, no. But I remember that. And like Halloween doesn't become, first it starts as kids, and you're getting into the kids, you're dressing up, and I think a lot of times we have identity problems even with children nowadays because we're making them do all these different things that God didn't ordain.
So
But-
maybe that's where it even starts. Like we talked about before how identity crisis is a big thing today,
Yeah.
especially with social media. So maybe it even starts from Halloween,
Oh yes,
from a young age. Because like you idolized Batman, right?
bro, I worship Batman.
Yeah, you worshipped
Bro,
Batman.
I worshipped
So imagine how many kids are doing like that.
Princesses. What's the one, Frozen? That movie Frozen. Everyone wants to be a princess. Every guy, every kid, like it's either like he wants to be some superhero, then every young girl wants to be a princess. And then that sticks in our mind as we go, and we see how that translates. So say for women, they are a princess, and now in high school, they're a slutty princess. They're a slutty army girl.
But I think from the girl's perspective, like it's because the pressure from the other girls' costumes that make them have to,
Exactly.
get sluttier and sluttier. Because
Yeah.
some of them probably they didn't even want to partake in it, but when they see other girls and getting the attention, that's when they
we talk about the culture influences. That's for me too. I was like, every high school party when Halloween comes around, you're like the pressure of getting a costume that you're repping. It's like, I don't want a bad costume, and unfortunately,
they're expensive too.
Oh yeah, they're like,
even as a kid, I remember going to Party City. Some of these things, like the costumes, were expensive.
And they put up the store early in like August because they know, right? And people, like, there's certain spirits around it that constantly influence us to think a certain way and be a certain way. And for me now, I can see why that's a problem. Like as a Christian now, and thinking about how everything that is true is what God made.
So what do you say to the people who say, it's only one day a year, like relax. It's like it's one day where you can just dress up and like
there's no
for
compromising.
Kids
There's no compromising with God, right? So we know God's full time, that the devil's full time. I don't want to be a part-time Christian. That's where it comes down.
Because the devil,
I can easily.
Would you say the devil just needs one time for you to justify, and then he knows that he can get to you?
It takes one day for one person who's a Christian, a good person, say a kind person, to go out and be like, you know what, I'm gonna celebrate Halloween. There's probably even people that were not like us, maybe actually dedicated Christians in high school, and then once they went away to university, they wanted to try new things. I couldn't do this in high school, so now I'm in an influence of culture of universities where it's all around, fornicating and getting drunk and trying new things. It takes one bad scenario for a girl who wants to now dress up, or you're growing, you want these different attention, or there's one guy that takes advantage. And I know for me, when I was young and I knew Halloween for me was the best time to get laid. That was the time where I'm in university, everyone's getting laid during Halloween.
That's true.
That's just a fact. Like I was there, like, these girls are looking sexy. They're appeasing my lustful nature. Where like, this girl definitely wants that. Look how she's dressed. She's showing me her ass and tits, and it's vice versa, right? Like I'm a lustful guy in sin, and there's these women here who we're binge drinking. We're at university, like they're asking for it, right? And like we're both wrong. Like I'm being honest. Like that's what guys think like who are in the world.
For sure, and it just translates to other things, right? In different environments.
Yep.
So it's not even just Halloween.
No,
Then there's a St. Patty's Day party.
Yep.
Same shit goes down, right?
Yep.
Like
and we get
use like as a culture just uses these days to celebrate basically the same thing with different meanings.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's the same party. It's
Yep.
the same, stuff that goes on, like we know.
Just
like,
change the name.
Just change the date and change the name.
Yeah. We all know Christmas parties. Are they really Christmas? People getting shit-faced for Christmas, and
well, I think for like Christmas, I think it's a lot more wholesome, only because it's during the time of like a holiday season where you're more surrounded by family. At least I am. If you're going to a Christmas party with friends, I find that those are more like dinner oriented, like gifts. It's not really like a Halloween party or St. Patty's where it gets wild.
It gets wild.
I don't think
there
Christmas.
There are more
New Year's. That's what New Year's
healthier.
is for. New Year's
Yeah.
party that's a whole different.
But think about like Christmas work parties. Like I'm trying to say, we're like, there's some wholesome.
I wouldn't know, but I never had a Christmas work party.
Well, we all know that. Got people listening that go to Christmas work parties, work in offices. We know what that's about. We know what people are doing and at those offices. But sticking on, obviously, like there's different secular things that we can look at in terms of holidays, and the reason why it's important is because, like we said, it takes one time for us to slip up, to go back away from our faith and into the world. It takes one time of, I'm a strong, faithful Christian and trying to focus on my relationship with God, then going out in Halloween, dressing up differently, feeling different spirits, being around that environment, the music, and I sleep with somebody. And now I'm, questioning my faith. I'm maybe living in shame, and maybe I start to continue doing those habits.
And also, it could also lead you to doing drugs or binge drinking.
Yep.
Like
Sin.
it all depends too where people are at in their lives. Like I know that if you're in college or you're in university and you're seeing everyone else going out to a party, like
It's a very
different stages in life, you're gonna experience different things. And
Yep.
because we're at a point now where it's like, especially during COVID, you just see like how meaningless like a Halloween party actually is
exactly.
in your life.
And you have the
Like-
opportunity now to actually not do anything and be like, okay, what did I really miss? Like say if you stay in from the shutdowns, whatever, ask yourself what you really missed. Like, why do you need to dress up? Why do you need to post on Instagram?
It's more for Instagram though. It's not even actually. I can't. For some people, like they don't even care about Instagram. They're just there for the actual, like the party environment. But for other people, they just want to get that pick off of like, this is what I am for Halloween. I have a crazy costume.
and it's extremely.
It's not even for themselves. It's for other people.
It's to tell other people that they're good with the culture, they're good with the times. It's a fear of missing out. For me, it disheartens me when I see Christians and they're like we say, like we're trying to build, true Christian. It's like, oh, I'm Christian, but Halloween's okay. We're gonna get a lot of people like that. Like Halloween's okay. No, these things are okay. We can't compromise with God, right? Like I'll be honest, when I've messed up, I'll talk about those things. It's like one thing where it's like sin is okay when it's not. We cannot be worshiping. There's people there's a video I want you guys to even check out. We always want to give you educational tools of people that have done certain things. There's a video I sent to you about a guy who was we have pastors and priests. This guy was worshiping the Satan cult. His name was John Ramirez, and he is now a newly saved Christian, and he warns people now because he knows of the demonic things he was doing. And people would pray over and worship on these candies and make kids touch candies, and they would pray. There are people out there that pray evil, not even pray. They worship evil, and they think of doing bad things to people.
There's even a story too. This was like a couple years ago in Quebec. Basically, this guy was driving around on Halloween and luring kids with candy into his car. And then like a bunch of them got abducted. And that just goes to show you that Halloween is that day where,
Yes.
because kids are, they're vulnerable.
Yep.
And, a lot of them, they don't go out with their parents to go trick-or-treating.
No.
So they just think that, oh, this guy's wearing a costume. He's offering me candy. Like, let me go get some. And what happens? That one day changed their life forever, changed a family's life forever. So it's just a day that it doesn't, like we talk a lot about spirits. It's a day that doesn't bring good energy and good spirits.
No.
Like even if you think you're in the most controlled environment, like at a party with all of your friends, right? You don't know how your night's gonna end up, and it doesn't have to end up at that party itself. How about on your drive home?
Yep.
Everyone, like we know a lot of people, like they drink and drive. It's still prevalent today. Like as many commercials as you watch, like a lot of people, they don't care. They're still gonna drink and drive. They're gonna be doing drugs under the influence, and that you can end someone's life that night. And now Halloween for you is a day where your family, they never want to celebrate. They don't even want to think about it because now trauma is presented, and it may sound extreme until it happens to you.
Exactly. And that's why honestly, that's why we have to be intent with this, because it's like we can just be like, oh yeah, bro, Halloween, whatever. I used to do this, I used to do that, until that happens. Until one girl gets date raped, one girl goes out, and because a guy feels like he wants to be creepy that night, there's a lot of creeps. Okay, a lot of guys are creepy. They go out, they drink, like they know that they can take advantage of girls and they can get away with it.
But for me, and it's more about even the kids, the youth. Because we talk about a lot about how the youth, like as the future of of culture, they're the ones who are the most impressionable.
Yep.
And they're susceptible to so many things because they're innocent. So now, how many times do we see on the news that the candies that they're getting from houses are tainted? There's
glass in them,
there's
even
glass
there's
in
shards in them.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy.
Yep.
So it's like it's just a day where there's so much that can go wrong.
I would honestly urge people, like if you have kids, to check through the candy. But even though how like big of a hassle that is, like to actually have to go through all the candy, there's so many other ways you can actually honestly celebrate God and have your own, like you said, Christmas is a wholesome thing. there's definitely a way where, hey, let's just get together, guys. Let's maybe go do something, have some fun on this day. Yeah, your friends are doing this. We can make this a day for the family. So like you said, young kids are impressionable. Imagine as a young kid, every time Halloween comes around, you just remember it being this something day.
Yeah, even when I used to live in California, so this is like 2000, 2001, 2000. One of the houses near me, he got caught giving like Tylenols and like prescription medication to kids. Like he was a sicko, right? And like I remember
Like the
seeing
little
that.
pills, or you give them the full thing?
Like little pills and like different Tylenols, Advils to kids. Like it was crazy. And like imagine, what if that kid's just gonna eat it along the way? Like how kids just
I
they
did
don't
that.
know.
I did. I was a fat chubby kid. I'm like, let me get this with his Twix or his Kit Kat. Yeah.
So you see how like a guy like that who's evil, he can just cause instant trauma to a kid.
Damage, man.
Yeah.
Like you can have any kid can have maybe a kid has a certain
So that's why
ailment.
Yeah, that's why COVID right now, I think it's God's message to the world, right? Of like just letting people know what's actually important. Like if kids, if candies are very important to your kids enjoying Halloween, you can go buy a box of candy from, like do some type of I don't know, hide them around the house like an Easter hunt or whatever.
Yeah, there's so many different
I'd
things.
rather do that than having my kid come home with like glass in his chocolate.
And I actually was like, I was kind of more of a very shy, scared kid when I went out. Like trick or treating at night was kind of I always looked like my parents with me, because just going up to a guy's house. Like, we're safer in Canada, man. Like, it is safer than it is in the United States. Like, going as a kid up to a door.
Yeah, did you see? So, because yesterday, like, I was just doing more research for this episode, and I saw, like, what are the bad things that happened? And then in Florida, there was a guy who he got caught, basically, like, when kids with no adult supervision would knock on his door, he'd have the candies. As soon as he come, he'd grab them inside the house. And, like... and a bunch of the parents didn't even know that that happened to their kids until they got home and told them, like, that house did that. And by the time, like, it wasn't even his house that he was doing it at.
They're gone.
It was he just used that house just for the day for Halloween. So by the time like police went there, he wasn't even there anymore. And like, how many kids he could have did that to?
And you're right when you talk about the children being our future and that needing to be a focus, because child sex trafficking is the biggest business in the world. And like we said, the devil needs one day you worship him for you to be lazy, distracted. Oh, my kid's gonna go get Halloween, yay! Oh, we're gonna go do this. Oh, we're gonna go do here. And then like you said,
Man,
it takes
doesn't
one
even
day.
have to be worshiping, because like
But
but
we do.
Yeah,
like we can say we don't like.
But the scary thing is, even if you don't worship like Halloween or worship these things, it's just even the idea of you taking part in something, because you can take part in something and not worship it. Like, I never worshipped Halloween. I was there, like I told you, I put the mask on. I was there to get candy. But you participating in something, it still opens the door to
spirits,
to evil energy.
Yep.
So like, man, there's so many situations that like it goes back to this. You can be driving home perfectly. Nothing could be in your system, just driving normally, and someone else,
Boom.
who fucked up that night takes you out. So it's just like, it's not even it's not your control.
Yeah, because if you look at the stats, you're right. Murder goes up that night, rape goes up that night, kidnappings go up that night.
Yeah, they have police always say police are on patrol that night as much as sometimes New Year's Eve, especially in the States, because there's so, like, the population in the States compared to Canada is way bigger, right? 10 times, I think. So it's just it's a day where if parents from a young age can just be more cautious with the trick-or-treating and just letting their kids not have to feel the pressure of going out, then it can make it, a change can be made. But until then, if it always starts with the kids on the way up, then they'll be used to celebrating it, and then that's when it leads into high school, university.
And like I use my experience as the example, because I did that. I dressed up, I idolized, whatever. I thought nothing of it. Like, you said, like, you don't worship it. Like, I wasn't choosing, the devil, worship, but it was like I was doing these practices that I was subconsciously not aware of. So like, you and I would know if we were doing these things again, like, we'd be convicted, because we're like, I'm doing these things that goes against, like, my God, my Bible. Like, I can't be practicing these things. But there's things that we're doing that we don't know we're doing, but that lead an effect. So I remember there were so many times where I would go out, yeah, it was Halloween, but I knew I was getting shit faced. I was like, there'd be so many times where I would drink so much just to get drunk, and my sister would have to come pick me up because I felt the pressures of, Halloween, all these different things. And like we said, like, there's different spirits, like we're influenced by different things. And then when I got into university, it was different. Now it was about, I honestly felt evil spirits. Like, I honestly knew when I was gonna, like, I want to go sleep with a girl and do these things, and like it further leads on. So when I was going out in Toronto, but I wanted to be sober, I got to see how guys are around women and how creepy they are, and like I saw the violence, like I saw how evil those spirits are, and it's very hard because we have a lot of people who, like we said, are being damaged and being hurt at a young age, who don't know what they're doing, who just think, yeah, I'm just dressing up, but now I'm dressing up as this. I'm dressing up as a cross-dresser. I'm dressing up, putting on makeup, and that's confusing kids. So it's not even like, yeah, Halloween for the day. It's, okay, what's happening the next month and the next month, and what's the kid thinking about?
And even, in Chicago, so I think this was like 4 or 5 years ago, that there were guys who were driving around with masks on, like trying to, like in The Town, the movie, how they have masks and they're driving around. So they tried to reenact it. And in Chicago, like especially in the South Side, the murder rate is high. So they were going around like to their enemies' blocks and stuff with the masks on during Halloween, and just shooting at like hoods and different guys, because they knew, because they have the mask on, that it would be that's that one day where you can wear a mask and it's Halloween, so people are gonna be like, yo, they're just celebrating.
And like they were doing it like it was like a purge, essentially.
To hoods that they like, their rival gangs.
It was a gang, and
it was gang related, yeah.
But the
point is, like, they used Halloween as a day where they can wear masks and go around and shooting.
And you can't even catch these guys.
They only caught like 2 of them, but there was they said that there was more that were on the loose. But how do you identify when they're wearing scream masks? Or
you don't.
You can't.
But that's why when you talk about like how.
So now look at today. Now today everyone's wearing a mask. How dangerous it would be if
that's what I was even thinking about. How can you identify people anymore? You can't. Think about it. You can't even open up your iPhone
and your costume will be messed up anyways. Because what if your costume doesn't need the mask, but now you have to wear it, so it throws off like your entire look.
Like, I wonder.
What a time, man.
Do you think people are actually gonna like go break the lockdown rules and actually go out during Halloween?
Yeah, of course. You can't help it.
What do you think they're gonna like, house parties and stuff like that? People are gonna still do that?
For sure, you're gonna see a lot of house parties, and you're still gonna see certain kids going door to door and knocking, because they're just like, yo, we've been this is like 7-8 months. Enough is enough. It's just like when we were in the mall the other day, and you just look around at how miserable people are, because it's just so much negative energy.
So, you know what's sad is that people are making Halloween the positive. The Halloween is supposed to be like, I know people are actually bummed. Like, I knew, oh no, Halloween. It's like, we gotta change what we value, what we like, what we enjoy. Like the whole shut down, whatever. I think it's dumb. The whole October month shut down. Yeah, we walked around the mall, and people like I wasn't wearing my mask around the mall, and people were looking, right, making comments. It's just like the influence of media and the influence of what we see is so seeped into our minds, we have no idea.
Now you're the bad guy because you're not wearing the mask.
I'm the bad guy. When I'm thinking, I'm trying to wake people up. Because I always think about there's that one guy who doesn't want to wear the mask, and he's too afraid, right? We know Halloween is based on fear. Like, Halloween promotes fear, right? Halloween makes people either be afraid to do things or commit serious crimes, serious violence. So the whole.
But there's also people who. They don't approach Halloween from a fear perspective. They want to go and enjoy.
What's enjoyment, though? What's enjoying? You know what I mean?
For them, it's like they want to go. They want to go out with their boys, or they want to go out and just dress up and just take their mind off something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really fear.
In terms. Yeah, no. But
you could have a fear perspective in like going into Halloween, but not everyone. Some people, they're just like, I'm going out with the boys. I'm just gonna dress up and go have a good time.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying. I was thinking of like the movies people watch. Like, it's like people. It's not that it's like, oh, I'm afraid to go out. It's like I guess you're right. It's the you know when you watch a scary movie, but it's not real though.
But yeah, but some people have, because they've had bad experiences from all previous Halloweens or bad instances where now they're fearful
Mm-hmm.
and now they have to be more aware and cautious. So now Halloween to them, when they go to a party, let's say a girl who got raped at a party,
Yeah.
she's going to be next, maybe she won't even go to any more Halloween parties.
No,
But
man.
if she does, now she's
and that
coming
stuff's-
from a fear perspective.
Yeah, and that's why it's serious because, I can look at it like the guys, we're just going out. But to be honest, you don't need to be doing that. Like, I'm not here to say like, yeah, bro, it's okay to go do that. It's not.
Look at Epstein's Halloween parties. Did you take a look at that?
I had.
It's crazy.
That's what I was even thinking about before coming here. How, when we see that, we talk about sin and lust and stuff like that, and like Halloween is the start of something. Like Halloween is the start of like, I'm starting to sleep with a girl. Oh, I slept with a girl at college, and I do that, and now I continue to do that. And what would happen to somebody who realizes they can get away with stuff when they can realize maybe they, like you said, a girl gets raped and he gets away with it, what that guy's going to think like. There are people out there. So, I mean, if you want to continue with the Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so what he did was for like because we know that the girls that he was attracting were like high school, like younger university girls. So he would tell them and tell the other girls to spread the message that best outfit wins money. And he would like give like 20K, 15, like crazy amounts. So now they're trying to impress them. And like, especially girls that come from broken households, what what type of costume do you think that they're going to wear to impress Jeffrey Epstein?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Especially
and he was
when
doing
gives
that for years.
He gives them money they can never make.
Exactly.
You give a 16-year-old $500, she's like, $500? And like I said, evil is slow. Like, people that commit crimes, these people, these sickos, it's not very obvious. It's not like, hey, I'm here to sex traffic you. It's discreet. It's very like, let me groom you. Give me a foot massage. Let me rub my back.
Yeah, that's how we started. It was massages.
Right? And that's what we say. Like, for me, that's what Halloween is to me. Halloween's not like, it's the devil's going to be there. It's like, yeah, there's churches that worship the devil. And they're like, yo, thank you for cheating on Jesus and saying, you don't actually love God. You love the devil. Because these things creep in. Like, it starts with that. But it blows my mind because people, like, they only get upset, like you said, until it happens. They don't cry wolf until it happens.
That's for everything. Like, what's the number one way a lot of people come to God is through trauma, or when they have no one else to turn to, and they're just like, okay, now I'm gonna try it.
Now I'm gonna try. Yeah.
If you're in the hospital for some reason, right, and you're like, I don't see how I can get past this hurdle, so they start thinking and praying. And it can apply to any situation. And
for you, in your personal experience, do you think Halloween had any impact on you? Do you think personally, in terms of what you grew up like?
No, because I told you I wasn't a big I never went to an actual real Halloween party because I was never the guy to dress up. So it's like I never celebrated like.
Were you 25 going out getting candy, being one of those guys?
No. I think I stopped it for sure around like maybe 16, 15.
You just never was your family against it because you said you went.
Yeah, my mom from young. I remember when I was like 8, 9, where my mom was like, because I was already going to Awana. Awana's a Bible.
What was that like? What was Awana like?
Awana is like
talk about that.
It's a Bible. It's like basically a Bible camp for kids. It's like once a week, and it's by a church near my house that every Bible verse that you memorized, or every if you did a play like with the church or whatever you did, you get different like stars and like badges and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how my faith began. That's how I memorized verses as a kid, from doing that. And then when I was in that's when my mom was like, we don't celebrate Halloween, because even there in Awana during Halloween days, they would say no one dress up. You're not allowed to dress up. Well, you guys still get candies that day, but it's gonna be for like verse or like different shit like that. But yeah, so because from that young age, I was already looking at Halloween in a like it's a bad day to celebrate. It translated later to me not having to feel the pressure of having to dress up. I just was like, okay, I'm gonna go put on a mask and get candy.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna celebrate it. It wasn't like you weren't enticed.
Exactly.
I find that interesting because like your spirit, like because you're in a church at a young age, practicing it, it was still a fun time for you as a kid. You didn't have that spirit that feels like it needed Halloween. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I need to go dress up and drink and like, cause I didn't have any. What was it called? I don't know how to say the name.
Which one?
Awana?
Awana.
Awana?
Awana.
Awana, yeah. I had no Awana. I
Yeah.
had, like I said, Batman
Yeah.
and all these dark. Like, I literally had, like, the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had the Dark Knight, right? So it's like I was literally invested in demonic things. Now, I say demonic things like I wasn't demonic, you know what I mean? But
He was your hero. Your idol.
Yeah, I was just doing things that was hurting me until obviously later on in my years I realized the damage it was doing to me, which is why I always want to tell people, like, be aware of the things you're doing that's damaging your kids over time. Yeah, but that's interesting because you're in Awana and, like, Halloween came. I bet you were probably so kind of pure at heart about that when it came around. You're like, let me just throw on this mask, eat chocolate.
And you know what? Like, so now it goes back to why is there no Christian school system? Because the fact that I went to a Catholic school, that's what, and I started celebrating it again, celebrating Halloween there for the first time and getting used to it. That's what made me feel like, oh, okay, maybe it's not so bad. Because if it's okay in a Catholic school system, as a young kid, how else am I going to think? I'm going to think it's okay,
You're
right?
going to trust the people. You're going to
Exactly.
trust your teachers, trust your principal. And that's why we talk about paganism. Like, that's a practice of paganism, worshiping nature, things around you. Halloween's like that. Catholicism calls it All Saints' Day. It's all interconnected. It's away from the faith, away from Christ. But that's interesting to because I didn't know about that. But yeah, like I said, guys, you know, if you're having a hard time even with faith, with any practice, you go Anglican school, Catholic school. These things aren't a representation of Christ. It's to be honest, a part of the Satan's plan. But I'll get into that later.
You think the government is against having a Christian school system? I wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
not Trump, because
well,
not Trump specifically, but just like in general around the world.
It's not government funded. We know that, and they're trying to limit that in the United States, right? Biden, Kamala Harris, they're trying to limit those things. They want to actually get rid of the private school system because, like they said, it costs money and everything. But I know there's even a more Christian-focused school in Mississauga that actually costs money to go to, but you have more of a focus of the faith. But yeah, it is sad that you can't have a Christian high school like focused on Jesus Christ. Like, Christianity is Jesus Christ. You start from there and you actually read the Bible based on that. Where Catholicism is kind of like it implements culture and traditions into it, and then it's like, oh yeah, and like Mother Mary.
And look how boring the
things.
masses were. Like going to mass during elementary school was painful for me.
So bad.
When I see the guy, with at the altar who's, just putting people to sleep. When we go to the church that we go to, it's interactive, it's energetic, it's vibrant,
it's real.
Yeah,
it's
so
based
it's like,
on truth.
imagine we had kids that get to experience a Christian school system that's opposite of
who knows what God will do.
Mm-hmm.
I always say tradition's not based on truth. So we grew up in traditions that we honestly even thought like this is stupid. Like, when I went to church at Loyola, we had to go, our church was right near our high school. When we had to walk there, I was like, yo, it's time to sleep. Like, I would sit there being like, who is this guy in a white robe? Why do I call him father? Like, why am I calling this guy? He's not my dad.
No one's paying attention.
And no one is.
Like, everyone's just, everyone looks forward to mass because you're not in class.
Exactly. You're chilling.
A
mass sleep. It's a mass sleep session. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, sick mass. You're chilling because you have no idea what this guy's saying.
Yeah.
Here's the Lord our God. All these random bells, whatever. Cheers to the Lord. Like this guy's talking. This guy can't get married. Why can't he get married? And then you look at the Catholic Church and like, oh yeah, they're all pedophiles and creeps. Like, yeah, you're telling a guy to worship God and he doesn't get married. Like, what if he actually likes, what if he loves women? Like, what if he's attracted to women? Like, I just think it's so, like, tradition and the culture that Catholicism came up in Rome, it just messed up with people. Like, it's more based on culture and tradition than it is based on, Christ. That's why we try to interact people that, like, culture is not, the culture's influences.
Have you heard of Hope Church? Hope.
I went to a New Hope Church.
Hope Church? Oh, okay. I don't
Is
know
Hope
if
Church
that's the same.
in Mississauga?
I think so, but I don't know. Maybe that's the same thing. Maybe it's New Hope because I heard of Hope Church as well.
Okay. What about it?
Yes. No, I was just going to ask you that because basically, like, Hope. So my physiotherapist, he told me that he goes to Hope Church, and I was wondering because I remember you told me that maybe it was New Hope, and you said it was really, like, energetic and
it was intense. It was like they call it a Holy Ghost church. People of the world will call it a black church. I don't call it that because I just don't. My brain doesn't do that. I just know like this church is gonna be powerful. Like when I was there, I was like, man, this is too much. Like I was like, I'm not ready. Like the pastor was intense. He comes from a sports background, but I could tell he cared. Like I could tell that he did some shit in his past that he wasn't proud of, and like the Holy Ghost Church basically means Holy Spirit, which we talk about like the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. But yeah, you need like we said, when we go to church, we want people to have a real experience, like a real honest, like, when you're listening to a pastor, like you can tell when he's legit. You can tell this guy speaks to the people from where they're at and not like, oh, I'm a priest. Like I'm like, it's like a government body, right?
And that's why like kids, because you're most impressionable at a young age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if kids were, exposed to pastors that, like are more relatable to them and not putting them to sleep, they would be, more open to having a relationship with God, because like we know that the message is only as powerful as the messenger.
Yes.
Like us right now, like if people couldn't relate to us, like this podcast would be pointless.
Oh yeah.
Like it'd be like, I can't listen to these guys, and it's all about who's delivering the message. So like the Catholic school system, I think it's outdated.
It's a farce, man. It's a lie. It's no one.
I would love to go now and see like different elementary schools, not high schools, because high school, I think you're already at that age where, you start thinking for yourself more. You're more independent.
It's true.
But elementary school, you're at that age where
You
whatever
can be impressionable.
whatever the teachers say to you, you're gonna believe. You're gonna listen. So I would love to see the elementary schools today and see how, if their masses are still the same. They probably are.
I don't know if
Why would they change?
Even if they have masses, like who knows? The teachers maybe don't even care. And like you're right, because Catholic schools and public schools, even in Canada, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The only difference is what? The uniform. Like you wear a uniform, but you have no idea why you're wearing it and who you're wearing it for. And yeah, they're all the same. I wanted to read a verse, just based on, I know that some of you guys might be Christian listeners, and you're thinking about Hell-o-ween, or you want to work on your faith and maybe improve on it. You're questioning certain things you're doing. So I wanted to read some things around, when you worship Satan, you worship the devil, you worship other things, and Hell-o-ween is just for fun, just for drinks. But like Aaron said, it takes one bad moment, one bad thing in your life to change the direct trajectory of your life. You think it's going great, one thing happens, boom. And we've talked about that in our testimonies. So I want to talk on Deuteronomy 18:10. I've gotten better in my Bible reading ever since this podcast started. I wanted to be more honest and more dedicated to my faith. So thank you guys. So Deuteronomy 10 says, "There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughters as an offering. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord." So basically that's talking about practices of witchcraft. People there's Satan churches that are worshiping witches, sorcerers, and when we realize, what do kids dress up as in Hell-o-ween? They dress up as witches, sorcerers, all these different things. So it's a form of idolatry that's basically saying like, hey, Christians say, no, we're worshiping, like we're saying how Jesus conquered the dead and how great it is, when really, the word of God is the word of God. So I wanted to put that in there. So for people that are Christians, or they're doing it and they're still going out living that lifestyle that's kind of hypocritical to God, it's going to lead you down to a dark path. Now, what do you think when I say, what comes to you when I'm saying, anyone who practices or tells fortunes or is a sorcerer? Like, what do you think of? Like, do you think of, like, picture an actual dude, like, who's like...
No, I think a lot of, like, the...
How can you explain that culturally? Like, someone that could be...
So there's a lot... I think there's a lot of entertainers. There's a lot of, celebrities that they come across to their audience in a way where they're discreet about it. So, like, we talk about Jay-Z. How Jay-Z, the person who's in charge for a lot of his videos, the girl, she's a known Satanist, right? Like that's what she is.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and she does it with a bunch, not just Jay-Z. She does it with like Lady Gaga in the past, Katy Perry, so many
And
of
she's
them,
out in
right?
the open about it.
Yeah,
like,
she's open about it.
wow.
So, like a lot of these artists, like they put in these mixed messages or these small undertones of demonic stuff that you don't even like realize what you're worshiping. Like I used to wear a lot of these Givenchy shirts like back in the day, right? Where they're very expensive and like Kanye, Jay-Z, all like the rappers are wearing them, right?
Mhm.
But when you actually look at the shirts, a lot of them, there's like evil shit in it. Like there's like Illuminati eyes, this and that. Like especially during. Have you heard of the album called Watch the Throne?
I have no.
So Jay-Z and Kanye, they did an album
Is
together.
it recent or
No, like in the past. Now they're not boys now.
Oh yeah,
So it can't be
there's
recent.
one's worshiping Satan, one's like a G, right? So
So they used that album, right?
mm.
That whole tour, like they were so many times. If you just look, remember I told you Kanye used to wear kilts. So that was the tour
when he
where
was trying to
wearing-
make kilts fire.
Yeah, like
Is that a
leather
Satan?
kilts.
Is that a Satan thing? Wearing leather kilts?
I don't know, just like both their outfits together because I went to the concert.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the whole Givenchy vibe is like, and then I found out that the designer of Givenchy during that time, Riccardo Tisci, so many of his own designs were around like evil spirits and shit like that. And like, see, because I wasn't even looking at it from that perspective. I was like, yo, this shit's sick. Like,
It's fire.
Yeah, it's fire. Like, it goes good with, Kanye's wearing it. It's a
Mhm.
win-win, right? So, but look, see how discreet that is? So these people, like a lot of these companies, a lot of these entertainers, they're not going to tell you in the open about what's their agenda, who they're worshiping, who's their god.
Exactly.
But they're going to do it in ways that, like, you're still repping me, you don't even know it.
The best analogy is when you put a frog in cold water and you slowly turn up the temperature, it doesn't know it's dying. So when you put a frog in cold water, but if you put it in hot water right away, what happens? It jumps out, right? Evil never presents itself as, hey, I'm the devil with horns. The devil can change form and make itself look, like you said, like an entertainer.
And then I started wanting more of the gear, right? That's how it gets you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that dopamine rush of
And it
like
seeps
having
in.
stuff coming in the mail. And it's all bullshit at the end of the day. It's
Yep.
like,
And like that's why people will have to be very careful because entertainers are like you see in COVID, everyone's like, you realize entertainers don't do shit for this world. No one's calling entertainers when things hit the fan, right?
well,
When
they don't even have as much power as you think they do.
nothing.
Like they don't make the world go around. They're not sitting in the White House
No.
or on Parliament Hill.
But they're
Like-
leaving an impact. They're trying to make people vote a certain way. You can see how like they're like we say like like you said, you picture these people how things are slow and they have such influence. How people always pretend like they're something good, right? Like, oh man, like this guy's in the movie I like, so I'm gonna vote Democrat because he says to do it. It's like you
It's
gotta
very
be
slick.
It's very slick, man. It's like they go into a commercial. It's like they have all this smile. Like, hi. It's always going to present itself very, very kind, right? And that's where, for me, that's why I like people who maybe don't speak correctly or arrogant, but they're being themselves.
Yeah, look at the rapper Ice Cube.
I just saw that recently.
Right. Yeah, he's just like, well, he's like, I want both presidents to tell me what they're gonna do for the black community.
And guess who
I'm not
stepped
just
up?
gonna go for Biden because you guys are telling me don't go for Trump.
Yep.
And now he's getting condemned by a lot of people, right?
And he stands by truth because he said, I went to both parties and I asked them to work on a deal for the black community and stuff, and one party said after the election, and Trump's like, let's do this right now. So Ice Cube's thinking, okay, businessman, I have a proposal. He's down to do it now. Who am I going to choose? How many times, like you said, the guys who are running for presidency say they're going to do great things.
It's how do you want your lie to be presented to you? That's
Yep.
politics, right?
Yep.
Do you want to get kicked in the nuts or punched in the face? That's what it is.
What do you think? And do you think Trump is kicking people in the nuts and punching people in the face, or do you think he's actually doing anything good? Like people say he's doing better. It's all a joke.
We don't even know. Like we're not Americans, so we don't
Mhm.
get to see like the things that with what he said. Did it come into fruition? Did it not? Like all I know is you get into politics by lying. You have
By
to be a
lying,
good liar.
manipulator.
Yeah.
You're a professional
You have
manipulator.
to
It's
be.
not based on truth, which is why even Trudeau's on. He's in trial right now. He's been stealing some money from charities. But anyways, those are like it's a common theme in Halloween. Like these people are actors. These people are dress up. Actors dress up. Halloween, it's all about dressing up, changing your identity, living in confusion. I want to get into another verse. I know I'm getting into verses here, but it's just for the people that are working on their faith. And I always want to add more God into the conversation. This is on 1 Timothy, and basically we talk about worship. You know, there's people who worship Satan. Jay-Z goes with Satanists to get powers, or, you know, the devil will give you things. We know that. The devil will keep you comfortable. Like, yeah, I'll make you rich. Yeah, I'll get you the girl you want. I'll give you a house. I'll give you all these things. And when time comes, you're going to live with me and burn in hell. But it's great. I'm going to give you things.
Yeah.
Straight up. You know, like, yeah. Like,
the devil pays.
yeah, you know. So I always want to rely on people. There's one focus. If you worship God, it makes, like you said, you grew up in a church at a young age. You enjoyed it. And Halloween wasn't a hard thing for you. You didn't really get sucked in because you had a foundation. You had a stronger foundation than I did. For me, all I did was get shit-faced in Halloween, eat like crap, and then, you know, fool around and do some things where I knew I was doing bad things. And it made me want to do more of it, right? So I'm going to read this verse real quick. For there is one God, and there is one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself as a ransom for all, which is the testimony given at the proper time. So there's one God, guys. One idolization, one real focus of your life you should be doing every single day. That's why we're trying to take it culture to Christ. Even in talking about Halloween, how, you know, Catholicism, Catholic schools, all these things it's all dress up. It's all these industries, these systems that we are born into, and we have to discover the truth. We have to almost peel the layers, right? Even for me, I knew I was saved because like I said, I was a superhero guy. I was a geek, you know, Transformers, all that stuff. When I went to go see the Avengers Endgame, did you go see that one?
Yeah, I saw that.
And like when at the ending, you know, when Tony Stark dies, and everyone was crying, like bawling their eyes out, and I was like, I just felt nothing. I was like, oh, okay, you know. That's when I knew. I'm like, I don't love this stuff anymore. Like, I knew I would have been crying with everybody else, and that's why I was like, you know, Jesus is real. Straight up. Yeah, anything else you want to lead with people today?
No, not really. I think you know, we covered a lot of topics, and you know, Halloween, yeah.
Halloween.
I like that name.
Halloween.
Yeah, it's just, you know, people, they're gonna do what they want to do at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like comes down to freedom of choice. So how are you gonna participate?
How are you gonna participate in Halloween this year? Well, thank you guys for listening so much. Make sure you guys like this video if you watched it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts with a 5-star. Leave your questions. We're doing a Q&A episode soon. And be safe, guys. Be safe. God's good. See ya.
Peace.